Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 99 of the Talk is Cheap show. Just one away from that magic 100. So make sure you watch us next week for what will be a truly entertaining and magical show. Make sure you tune in for that. But as you can see, guys, we're here live in the AFTV studio. Salubra standings as usual. And joining me to my left, as usual, we have direct in the house, my co-host, resident expert, show analyst, good friend, and social media content creator award winner. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, senior citizens, please give a big digital round of applause to none other than Curtis Shaw of Curtis Shaw TV in the house. What are you saying, bro?
What's happening, bro?
What are you saying, bro?
That was a better intro. Last few weeks gone a bit flat, hasn't it? I wasn't going to turn up this week.
Yeah, man said, oh, you got to get off them long intros,
yeah,
man.
I know, man.
So I had to like rein it in a little bit.
But
listen, man, you've got to put respect on your name, nonetheless. So
I appreciate it.
But tell the people what you've been up to since we.
Well, international break, it's a bit quiet. Take a bit of time off, man. You know, the content's still running, but just chill for a bit. But at least we're in a more positive state now, Arsenal, aren't we? So
oh, absolutely. And we're going to talk about that. But let's get cracking, man, because we got, lots of things going on that I want to get your opinion on. So we'll start with the news and notes. For those of you who don't know, the news and notes, we just look back at anything relevant in the press, making the news, whether it's to do with Arsenal or not, any little interesting side points. But so let's start then with what I'm calling the managerial merry-go-round of the Premier League. There's been a few things happening recently.
Yeah.
What should we start with? Daniel Farker has fucked off. I think that was a fairly predictable second. Actually, I'm going to round these up and then you can talk about rather than go through it individually.
Yeah.
Dean Smith. That was somewhat surprising that he got the boot. And of course, we know that Eddie Howe now, he's been appointed as a Newcastle manager. To be interested to see how that goes. And we're hearing over the last couple of days, it's emerged that Steven Gerrard is very likely to get the Aston Villa job. In fact, probably by the time this show goes out and people see it, he probably would have been appointed already. And of course, we're hearing that Frank Lampard is in the frame for a couple of jobs, the Rangers job and the Norwich job. So Curtis, my man, the managerial merry-go-round, what do you make of that so far?
I mean...
let's start with Daniel Farker.
Yeah.
He's fucked off.
Yeah, you love that one. I think we've all been expecting that one for a while. Norwich, one of them teams, they come into the Premier League and you're kind of like, what are they trying to achieve? You know, they don't... I think they're quite happy sometimes to get relegated. You get the parachute payment, you come back up, it keeps the club going. But yeah, I'm not surprised that he's gone. I suppose the sad thing for him, he wins his first game of the season, then they get rid of him. But yeah, I'm not surprised at that one.
Okay, the Dean Smith sack.
I think that's the most surprising. It's funny because Villa, I've always quite liked Villa, but over the past year they've tried to give us a little nudge, haven't they? Like, took Buendia and tried to get Smith Rowe and this, that, the other. So yeah, I'm surprised they got rid of him because he's done well there. But they did seem to be a little bit short of ideas this year. But they haven't given him a long time to turn it around. So yeah, a bit surprised at that one, to be honest.
Eddie Howe,
I think, Newcastle tried to get pretty much everyone, didn't they, before they appointed him? I think he is a good coach. What I remember of his Bournemouth team, they were very open and expansive. They scored a lot, conceded a lot. So I think he's got to show now, can he do that defensive side of it as well? But listen, I think, to be honest, I think he's better than Steve Bruce as a coach. I think he'll lift the spirits at Newcastle,
Okay. I think that's a good fit, actually, Eddie Howe. And he does play a good brand of football. But like you said, there were some defensive concerns when he was in his previous roles in Bournemouth. So we'll see how that goes. Got to ask you, though, Steven Gerrard to Villa.
Steve Gerrard.
Yeah. Some people are somewhat surprised because they thought he might wait it out and go for the Liverpool job when that, inevitably when Klopp moves on. But evidently the man ain't going to wait around.
No.
But on a personal level, I'm quite sort of looking forward to see how it's going to go for him.
Yeah.
Because, listen, he's done a good job with Rangers, although he did win the league. He didn't do so well in the cup competitions up there. So one or two people in Scotland have said, look, he kind of unfinished business type of thing.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt about it, man. Celtic were running things up there. He rocks up and they end Celtic's
dominance.
So he's obviously had a great effect up there. How do you think he'll do Villa?
I think
it's a difficult job, isn't it?
It is a difficult job. Do you know what? Like you said, I'm quite excited to see him come back. I like seeing these former legends back at clubs, Vieira and Gerrard. I think coming from Rangers and potentially going to Liverpool maybe feels that gap's too big. And I think Villa is a way of bridging that gap. It's interesting that he signed a contract that ends when Jurgen Klopp's contract ends, 2024.
Wow.
So, is he thinking, have a good few years here, then I go to Liverpool. So, I mean, listen, they've struggled since Grealish has gone, but they have got some good players there, Ings and Bailey and McGinn. And I think it's a big job for him, a pressured job, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does there as well.
Yeah, there's two things there. I think it is, like you said, man, it's a big challenge because that's not an easy job. And the Villa fans, they're potentially a big club, Villa. The fans there are expectant now. So this could go belly up for him, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So also it could go in his favour and enhance his reputation. I think the one thing you said, though, that it will definitely enhance the Premier League, having a guy like that. He's a legend. So for him to come back, a bit like Vieira at Palace, you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, we'll see how that goes, Right, okay, moving on then. I've got to ask you about this before we move on to our next segment of the show. A story emerged yesterday that really caught my attention, man. It happened in France and it concerns women's football over there. So there's a woman footballer by the name of Aminata Diallo. I hope I haven't butchered that name. Now she, for those of you who don't know, you probably do, she plays for PSG. She's also a French women's international. And she was arrested on suspicion of orchestrating an attack on a teammate. Kira Hamaru, again, I hope I haven't butchered that name. So basically, they went on a night out. This is crazy, man. In Paris, and it's reported that after they'd left the restaurant and on their way home, the car was being driven by Diallo. The car got pulled over, and a couple of goons come out of nowhere, tooled up, dragged them both out the car, her and Kira. I'll call her Kira for now. And it would appear that they didn't attack Diallo, but they did attack the other girl, Kira. And apparently they beat her quite badly, especially around the legs. And she had stitches and so forth and had to miss a subsequent game for PSG. But the story we're hearing is that the attack was actually orchestrated by Diallo on her teammate, which is utterly bizarre to me. It's kind of reminiscent. I don't know if because you're a lot younger than me, but do you remember back in the day, in the Winter Olympics, there was a girl called Tonya Harding.
I remember
she did a similar
it.
thing to a girl called Nancy Kerrigan because she wanted that Olympic spot. This is very similar. I just wondered what you thought. I know you've heard about it. What do you think?
I mean, I've heard of fighting for your place, but this just goes to a whole new level, man. Gee. Oh my days.
I like that one.
Wow. I mean, I have heard of these things before, to be honest. I have, but
not in football.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. Apparently they play in the same position.
Yeah, that's right.
She obviously wants her place in the team, but boy, she'd probably mashed up her career now, hasn't she? Because who's going to sign her after that?
I should say, for the record, that she's not actually been charged yet. At the time of this show going down, she's not been charged, but it is looking a bit dodgy for her. And I would imagine if she is charged and convicted, she's probably going to do some jail time.
Probably will.
I would have thought so.
Rightly
Maybe quite lengthy jail time as well.
Crazy.
So that fighting for your place has ultimately cost her a career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that was an amazing story.
Madness.
So, but anyway, thanks for that, bro. Let's move on then. So another regular feature of ours is where we review Arsenal's last game. So last weekend, Arsenal's last game was against Watford at home. We entertained Watford. The backdrop to the game was, could Arsenal continue their current winning run? And the game was also instrumental because it was Mikel Arteta's 100th game, and we're going to talk about that a bit later on. So so that was the backdrop to the game. Arsenal on this very good run. Previously, we'd beaten the likes of Leicester and, a number of other teams. So Watford come to town. Everyone's thinking, yeah, man, light work. A lot of people weren't saying it outwardly, but that was what internally,
I'm
pretty sure
3-0, didn't I? I said smoke.
I said a couple of clear goals. And there's always a danger of doing that kind of thing, innit? I mean, subconsciously you do it you try not to. You're thinking to yourself, yeah, man, light work. Arsenal by at least 2 or 3 clear goals. We should go on and win handily. If anything, we're looking at who's going to score rather than if we're going to score, you know what I mean? And there's always a danger of doing that, especially in the Premier League, because to be fair to Watford, they came with a game plan, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I would say, like, they kind of dragged us down to their level a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we didn't look that good, although we got the win in the end. But I've just made a note of some key moments in the game. The first one was that the team lineup. I think we made one change, didn't we, from the lineup that beat Leicester in the previous game. Ainsley coming in for Partey, who was injured.
He's getting injured a lot, isn't he, at the moment?
It's fair to say that his injury record is not the best. No. But hey, man, you know, he's still one of our better players, so we can't go in on him too hard. But right, okay, so timeline then. I thought it was a fairly mundane start. We looked a better team, but we weren't overly impressive. 34th minute, you know, I'm jumping straight to the 34th minute. Yeah, we get awarded a penalty, courtesy of Danny Rose, who just takes out Lacazette in the penalty. I don't know what he was thinking of there, man. Ober steps up, misses a penalty, second one in a row. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit. So that was disappointing. Second half, though, within 10 minutes or so, we're in front. The ball's bobbling around. Emil Smith-Rowe drills in a low shot, takes a slight deflection and beats the keeper. However, there was some controversy over the goal. Should Arsenal give him the ball back when one of the Watford players went down injured? Was he feigning injury? Was it a foul on another player in the build-up? I'm going to ask you about that later. 89th minute, one of the Watford players, Kuko, he looks a bit thugged out, that guy, doesn't he? You know what I mean? He's sort of putting himself about. He gets sent off. That was no surprise to me, to be honest. And yeah, to be honest, man, that was the highlights of the game.
Not too much.
So Curtis, my man, what was your thoughts on the game?
I mean, it's one of them games, you look back at it and you think, if we'd have taken our chances, we could have won that game 3 or 4-0. I mean, we're both team Aubameyang. But this was a day I couldn't defend Aubameyang, man. Yo, you know what I mean? We're always rooting for him. And you know what? It's not even missing the penalty for me, because anybody can miss a penalty. It's just one of them things.
Anyone missed 2 in a row like that.
Well, that's another thing. But, you know, the goal that was disallowed early in the game, Saka, Aubameyang just control it and volley it in. He has a heavy touch that ends up going to Saka, and Saka's offside. Aubameyang should have scored that. Later on in the game, Odegaard, his shot's going in, Aubameyang touches it in. I get it, it's instinctive as a striker.
Do you think it was going in though?
I mean, I think it was going to hit the post and maybe go in, but you know, him touching it made it offside. But I think naturally as a striker you'll stick your leg out. But the penalty for me I think he's got to give it up to Lacazette now. I read a stat, I don't know if this is true, that Lacazette hasn't missed a penalty for Arsenal.
Oh, really?
Since we signed.
I wasn't aware of that, bro. I'll have to check that. If viewers watching, let us know.
Let us know,
true?
Yeah. But I think if you miss one, I think you can say, all right, bad penalty. You missed 2 in a row, I think you've got to give them up. You know, and I think Lacazette deserves to take the penalties now for me.
I think that might be difficult to get that off.
Yeah, I think with him being the captain and the top paid, they'll probably give him another one, but I would probably let Lacazette. I think with Aubameyang, he takes penalties in a way that he's relying on the goalkeeper going the wrong way. Right. When the keeper goes the right way, he usually saves it, where Lacazette can hit the corners sometimes.
He did go a bit more central. Some people saying it was the identical penalty. It wasn't actually.
It was a bit different.
It again, he did try to go central, and the keeper actually, to be fair to the keeper,
save.
It was a good save, because he actually had to check on himself and he stuck his arm out. And,
Ben Foster, who's now a big YouTuber. People saying you're missing penalties against YouTube. But in terms of the goal, I know obviously Ranieri was fuming after the game, saying we should have given the ball back. I mean, listen, it's one of them, let's keep it 100. If that happens to Arsenal, we're moaning about it, but I'm shameless right now. We need to get the points, we need to get the wins. Danny Rose spent most of that game kicking our players all over the place. I mean, he should have been probably sent off at some stage. So Lokonga wins the ball, the guy's on the floor, ball goes out of play. I think as Lacazette's about to take the throw, he's like, yo, the guy's up already. Do you know what I mean? So I think he just thinks, well, keep it moving, it's 0-0 here. You've been kicking us all over the place. Do you know what I mean? whip the ball in, get the goal. I understand Ranieri's frustration, but from an Arsenal point of view, I'm shameless with it, man. We need the points, you know what I mean? Danny Rose turning up looking like Mark Henry, you know what I mean? Kicking us all over the place.
Yeah, he's on some MMA shit.
I don't know what's that. He had a good summer by the look of it, didn't he? You know what I mean?
Carrying a bit of timber.
Yeah, man, come back looking, you know what I mean? But no, listen, I understand Ranieri's frustration.
I've got to ask you, what in the build-up to that goal, there was a coming together. Arsenal fans would say a coming together. Watford fans would say that the player was taken out and it was a foul. I have to admit, the first time I saw it, when I saw it live, I didn't think too much of it. I just thought, coming together, get up, man. You know what I mean? But when I watched it again, and sometimes things can look better. Things can look different when you watch them over and over again and you watch the slow-mos and stuff like that. I've got to ask you, you've seen it again. Are Watford within their rights to complain about that?
I can understand why they did. It was the Ainsley, I think he collided with their midfielder, didn't
And Ainsley's a strong unit, you know. I've said this to people many times before. Very strong guy.
Yeah, a very good game as well, by the way.
Yeah, man of the match.
Listen, they're going to complain about it, but
no.
I'm not bothered, to be honest.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm bigging up Smith Rowe. I love that goal from Smith Rowe. What I like so much about that goal is it was instinctive now. When the ball broke to him, he just hit it. He didn't even think about it. I feel like last season, he would have controlled that, passed it. You know what I mean? He needs to I think he can get 10 goals this season. You know?
Well, you know what? You know what it is? Me and you on this show, for a long time, we've been going on about the lack of goals from midfield.
Yeah.
And we need somebody to assist Alba in the goal scoring. Looks like we could be finding a solution to that.
Yeah.
So
England call up as well.
England call up as well, man. Congratulations to Emil Smith Rowe, man. So,
and Gabriel, Brazil.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So things are looking up in more ways than one. So, and listen, man, although it was on paper maybe a narrow win, I think, to be honest with you, even though I've said that Watford kind of brought us down to their level, and even though there were question marks against the goal, I think we were the better team. I mean, the stats bear that out. Shots on goal, Arsenal 14 to Watford 7. Shots on target, Arsenal 6, Watford 1. Possession stats, you know what I mean? Arsenal 61% to Watford 39. Pass accuracy, we bested them. So I think we were the better team. It just wasn't a particularly impressive performance, but I think the right team won without a doubt.
I think the good thing last season, that could have been a draw. You know, so we found a way of winning the game. Yeah, that's all you need sometimes.
I think that's what a winning run does for you as well, man. Confidence. I think sometimes when you are on a good run of form, and even if you're not playing your best, you find ways to win.
Find a way.
So it's encouraging stuff, man, and long may it continue. So thanks for that. Right now on to the main emphasis of this show. It's international break, so we've got no game to preview, no ops of the week. However, as I said earlier in the show, the game at the weekend was instrumental, not least because it was Mikel Arteta's 100th game. So I thought we could talk a little bit about that and do a little deep dive on Arteta's managerial career at Arsenal so far and reflect upon it. Yeah? Is that okay? Yeah. So let's start from the top. So Mikel Arteta, he took over as Arsenal manager on I think it was the 20th December 2019. So in effect, he was replacing Unai Emery. But if you remember, we had an interim manager. Freddie came in and didn't do that great. I think he had like 1 win in 6 games. So Arteta comes in after Unai Emery had been relieved of his duties. Arteta had never really had any managerial experience. I mean, he was known as, not as the co-manager.
You give me that look, then I was like, I better not say what.
as the assistant to Pep. But he comes sort of with highly spoken of, even though he didn't have any managerial experience. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he's coming to, let's face it, what's going to be always going to be a very difficult role. Yeah. And it has to be said, when he got the job, and I'm going to keep it real now, there wasn't that many people sort of espousing his virtues. No, you weren't. And
I definitely wasn't.
We were looking at other people. I know what you're going to say. You lot wanted Mourinho. And all. We did. Mourinho was one of the guys we said we would have taken.
At the time.
Yeah. But I think we actually did a poll on this show, didn't we?
Yeah.
This is why I always go back, you know what I mean? I like to go back and look at these things. And I did that the other day when I was researching for this show. And I think there was about 6 candidates. Nuno was one of them that was highly touted at the time. And of those 5-6 managers, you had the likes of Allegri, Mourinho, and Nuno, and one or two other people. Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah.
Do you know who come bottom of that poll?
Arteta
did. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so he wasn't considered the most popular choice.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, he got the job. So obviously we're expectant. So he's been at the helm now for 23 months. I think, obviously,
next
December, late December will be 2 years. So he's had a while. And he's had, 100 games in all competitions. And I can give you his record. If you didn't know already, you probably do. So 100 games, right? Won 54, drawn 20 and lost 26. Goals for, 163. Goals against, 97. Clean sheets, 38. That may surprise some people. So he's got a win rate of 54%, which, to be fair to Arteta, is actually a better win ratio in his first 100 games than Arsene Wenger, arguably Arsenal's greatest ever manager. Arteta's not fared so well in the Premier League, though. 2 8th place finishes. A lot of people will say that's slightly underwhelming. I mean, Unai Emery, when he was relieved of his duties, when he was sacked, do you know where he was in the table? 8th. So, you know what I mean? So
that famous 8th place one.
Yeah, and of course, in the Europa League, we've not done that well under Arteta, and we're not even in Europe this year.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, to be fair to him, he did win the FA Cup, and we did also win the Charity Shield. So, I mean, he's won a couple of things, and obviously currently this season we got off to a really poor start. But since then, I think we haven't lost a game since I think it was August the 29th. We're currently up to 5th and things are looking good. So right, my man, I'm going to put you on a spot now and I'm going to ask you about Arteta's 100 games and how you think he's done so far.
You know what's funny? We're all happy about Arteta at the moment. You're going to take me back to them. People are going to be in the comments, But no, listen, we're going to review it all. I think, like you said, when he was appointed, I think a lot of people were underwhelmed because we were searching for that big name. What I think with Mikel Arteta, why the club have acted so differently with him, I think when he took the job, I think he would have took it on the basis that I need to rip all of this apart. Well, I think Emery came in and he was trying to make it a continuation of what was there with a few slight adjustments. Well, I think Arteta said, listen, if you want to be successful, you've got to tear this whole squad down. The mentality's wrong.
Right.
We need to lower the age of the squad. And that's why I think even when he's had really difficult times, where I've actually said at times I felt we should have moved him on.
I think you've said so quite unequivocally.
Although I think I've been a lot easier with him this season. But last season I was definitely up in arms about him. But I think, they see him as a long-term project. I think when he took the job, he would have probably said, you've got to give me 2-3 years to turn this club around. Otherwise, it's going to be the same thing. Yeah. So, I mean, look, the first season, he won the FA Cup. So the 8th place finish, I don't really put that on him too much because he came in halfway through. We won the FA Cup, we got in Europe. Last season for me was the disappointment because he had the full season. There was no fans in the stadium, which I would have thought would have taken some of the pressure away from him. Because if you're having a losing run, there's 60,000 disgruntled fans, that's probably going to make life more difficult. I just felt last season, it's almost an indication of the fact that he hadn't managed before, because it's like you can see him learning, but sometimes it's at the detriment of the team because he's figuring things out, he's trying things. I thought last season was really disappointing. I thought the league was quite open. I think we should have qualified for Europe. I think losing to Villarreal was a massive blow. The fact Emery was there as well, didn't score in the home leg. I think we played Smith Rowe up front in the away leg. Just crazy things. Took Aubameyang off when we needed a goal. Last season for me was a write-off. I thought it was a terrible season.
So can I just interrupt there? So do you think that given that,
that
he was slightly fortunate to have kept his job?
Yeah.
Because as I've said earlier, Unai Emery, he was only given 18 months. And here we are, Arteta's nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think so. But I just think when he signed, I think he would have just said, if you want me to come in as manager, you've got to give me that time no matter what is happening. So I think no matter how bad, I mean, we were 15th and they still didn't sack him. You know what I mean? We got knocked out of Europe. First time in 25 years, I believe, we haven't been in Europe. So I think I give them some credit in that sense, because sometimes it must be very easy. Oh, all the fans are saying, get rid of him, get him out. They've stuck by him. They backed him in the summer. First 3 games of the season, I'm sitting there going, you've stuck by this guy, you know. But to be fair to him, and one thing I've always said about Mikel Arteta is I feel like he sticks his chest out and he says, do you know what I mean? I'm going to make it work even when we can't see it. Yeah. So I think this season I'm starting to see, you know, light at the end of the tunnel. What I will say, why I don't get too carried away with the run is because we've seen good runs before. Emery went 22 games, you know, and it's about where you finish. For me, we've got to get back into Europe, you know, Europa League or Champions League, not Conference League. And I'd like to see us win a domestic trophy as well. So if he can keep doing what he's doing, I think the club need to back him in January. I'd love to see Arsenal go and sign a midfielder. Still think we need another one in there. But we're seeing improvements. I'm not totally convinced by him yet, but I'm definitely seeing things that can give us encouragement. I think the fans have really backed him this season as well, inside the ground. So,
I mean, you're right in a lot of what you say there, and we do need to sort of cut him some slack because of what happened with the COVID stuff and all the rest of it. I was going to ask, what do you think of his transfer dealing so far?
I think this year he's done well. I think in previous years, you know, your Cedric, your Pablo Marriage, Renarsson, you know, some of them ones, you know,
I forgot about him.
I mean, Renarsson, I don't think even AFTV FC would have him. You know? So he's had a few questionable ones, although some people blame, you know, Ralph Sanelli for the odd one, the brown envelopes. You know what I mean? But no, I think this season, you look at Ramsdale, again, somebody that I question when we signed so far. He's been brilliant. Tomiyasu looks shrewd. Gabriel, I mean, outstanding piece of business. Thomas Partey, you know, if we can keep him fit. Odegaard's been, it's funny because Odegaard was classed as one of the biggest signings, Real Madrid, and he's been the most probably underwhelming this season so far, but he'll need time.
He's shown glimpses, but it's not really, you know,
Lokonga's looked good. So I think this season he's done pretty well, and I feel like they're Mikel Arteta signing. So I think next season we need to sign less players, but maybe players who are more established. So 2 or 3 big players. So he's not bad in that sense.
How do you think he's like, because he has had a couple of difficult situations to deal with, most notably the Mesut Ozil thing. And, you know, there are some pretty strong characters at Arsenal. And there have been times when it's been said that, not maybe that he lost the dressing room, but it would appear that there were issues there. We know about the Aubameyang situation. We know that seemed to go a bit awry for a while. Now everything seems back on course. But what do you think of his man management skills?
I think it's something that people have questioned, you know, with Pepe, Aubameyang, Ozil. He's had a few situations. Obviously, it's hard for Arteta. You're new into a job and you've got these things going off and you're trying to concentrate on the team. The interesting thing was that I don't think he ever has lost the dressing room. I think he's had difficult situations where there's been a slight riff with a player. But even with Aubameyang, there was times people were going, him and Aubameyang, they're not vibing. They look like they're all right now. You know,
him and Lacazette, him and Pepe.
He's had a few. Maitland-Niles, you know, Saliba, we've spoken about that. There've been a lot.
I was going to ask you about the Saliba thing. That's a bizarre one, right?
It's a crazy one.
One in which he's on the record as saying that I was looking back, I made mistakes over that whole Saliba thing. That's something he said himself. So I was going to ask if you preempted it, but Saliba. Carry on.
I think with Saliba, I mean, I would have loved to have seen him at the club this season because I think beyond Ben White and Gabriel, we don't have great centre-backs there. I think Saliba could have got game time. One thing, I will give him some credit for, Saliba's having a brilliant loan spell at Marseille. Playing in Europe, he got man of the match against PSG, you know, kept Mbappe quiet. So you think to yourself, how good a player could this guy be by the end of the season? I just hope he comes back to Arsenal and gets in the team. I hope he doesn't look at Marseille and go, I'm really enjoying it here. I actually don't want to come back. But apparently his agent said the other day that he's doing English lessons. His whole plan is to come back. So I think Saliba, you know, at times I think he has mishandled that situation, but hopefully by the end of the season it'll work itself out. So again,
Guendouzi, how do you think he handled that situation?
Guendouzi is a tough one because I think a lot of Arsenal fans, me included, I like Guendouzi as a player. He's in the French squad. He's got a bit of bite about him.
Definitely, yeah.
I just think Arteta probably looked at it and thought, I've got so much going off here. I don't need a petulant player in the dressing room, which I do think.
Do you not make any allowances for the fact that at that time, I think he was 19 going on 20. I mean, you know.
You expect
I was 19 and 21. So
yeah.
And when you are at those ages, believe it or not, I was.
Yeah.
And you know what? Looking back, when I was 19, 20, I was a bit headstrong myself. And if there's people telling me to do things that I didn't quite want to do, I wasn't I wasn't slow in letting them know about it. You know, I mean, looking back now, you think a bit cringeworthy, but that's what it is when you're young.
I think if we had a more experienced manager, they may have kept Guendouzi and said, listen, I've dealt with a player like this before. You get your arm around him. Listen, concentrate on your football. Your whole future's ahead of you. I think because Arteta was new, you got the Ozil situation, you're dealing with COVID, the team's all over the place. He probably just looked at Guendouzi as, for the problems you're giving me with the ability you've got, it's not worth the hassle. Get him out of the door. So,
although to be fair, Guendouzi's doing well.
I mean, he's in the French squad.
He's in the French squad, man, and he's playing well for his club side as well. They seem to be very happy with him. He has had one or two incidents there, or it's been reported that he has. But I don't think there have been anything serious. Listen, at the end of the day, I think Guendouzi is always going to be, as you said, a bit of a character. He's a spiky lad. I think maybe that's what makes him the player that he is in midfield there. So, that was interesting. How do you think he's handled the Pepe situation? Because there's been a few question marks about that.
With Pepe, I'm kind of split. You know, earlier on, I felt like he was handling Pepe quite badly. You know, I felt like he wasn't fully in favour of him. I have to admit, with Pepe, now I'm starting to look at it a bit more and think you've got to take a bit more ownership of it yourself. You're 26 years of age. It's not like he's a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old. And he has had a lot of opportunities in the team. Listen, we've all been in the situation, whether it's football, in an office, you know, a manager will get on better with certain people. You know, sometimes you've got to do twice as much to get in favour. I think at times Pepe, you know, he's had good games and been dropped and you think, what's going off? I just think with Pepe, a lot of the responsibility has got to be down to him now. He's had enough games at Arsenal to think, put the manager in a position where he can't leave you out of the team. I think he makes it easy at times for Arteta to say, there you go, I've played him, he hasn't done well, I'll drop him. So I think it's a mixture of the two, but I think Pepe's got to take more responsibility for himself.
I would agree with that, bro. I mean, listen, you know me, I'm a fan of Pepe. I think,
big fan.
I am. I think that I've said it before on this show, some people would agree with me, some might not, but hey, I maintain it that in terms of natural ability with the ball, he's probably one of the best, one of the better players at the club, definitely. But I have to also say, man, that in his time at Arsenal, he's not lived up to his billing, man. The packaging was great, but the actual inside the packaging has not lived up to the packaging, bro. So I've got to keep it 100. But listen, man, there's still time.
There is still time.
There's still time. I've got to ask you, Mikel Arteta is... let's roll it into one. Tactical acumen and game management. What would you give us your honest assessment on how you think he's
I mean, this is where I think he used to struggle badly. I felt, number one, substitutions too late, too reactive, not proactive. Again, he is improving with that, I will say. He's making them earlier now. Sometimes I felt we were a little bit predictable. Every game 4-2-3-1. You know, he won the FA Cup playing free at the back, so clearly we can play in different ways. We're now having success with old school 4-4-2. So you think it maybe should have been a little bit more flexible at times, where I think last season he was just banging the same drum every week. Again, you know, is it a time issue that as time goes on, he's learning more, he's improving as time goes on? So I think tactically in the past, he's definitely been questionable. I remember Willian up front against Manchester City. Dreadful. You know, Smith Rowe at Villarreal.
That seems such a long time ago.
It does. It's like he never signed for us. He just left Chelsea and went to Brazil. But again, I'll give him some praise. I think he has improved this season. You know, he's learning from the L's and hopefully turning it around. So I think he's improving with it, but before he was struggling.
What do you think of how he handles himself in the press and how he comes over with his communication skills with the press and the fans and everyone else? What do you think? I mean, he's spoken a lot about projects and stuff like that. Sometimes I would have to say some of the post-match interviews used to leave me scratching my head a little bit. But yeah, what do you think of how he conducts himself and his gravitas?
I do a review of his press conferences and I call it waffle settings. For anyone who watches my channel, I said, listen, this guy he should be a politician because some of the things he says at times, the Kroenkes must just sit there and applaud him because, there's been times we've lost the game. I've listened to the whole press conference and I've forgotten that we've lost it. He's took me somewhere else. What I mean, with what he said. So, he certainly knows how to conduct himself in a press conference. He's very, very sure of himself. Sometimes I think, you're spinning the PR a little bit and rather than just saying it what it is.
So you prefer him to be a bit more honest, would you?
I mean, he is a little bit honest. I felt when he first came in, he was a little bit more upfront. Then it felt like the PR kind of got hold of him a little bit. But I think when you're having a difficult time as a manager, you find that the PR turns up a little bit more. You can be honest when you're winning and everything's nice. So it is what it is. There aren't too many managers who really are that honest and upfront. But yeah, I mean, sometimes he does waffle a little bit, I have to admit.
Are there any other negatives that kind of leap out at you that you think, nah, man, he really needs to step his game up in any sort of facet of his management, whether his management style or whatever? Is there anything that you're still not happy with?
I just think keep doing what he's doing. Be a little bit more flexible with your formation. Don't just play one system all the time because I think sometimes when you're predictable, what I want to see is, can he go and convince, for example, next summer, I think we need to sign bigger players, more established players. He went for numbers this summer, good signings. I think next year less. Can he go and convince top players to come to Arsenal, to believe in him and this project? They got Thomas Partey. That was a big coup for Arsenal. So I just think go into the transfer market. Don't leave us short. I also think let some of these players go as well. Don't get too caught up. He's got rid of a lot of the deadwood here, but I still think there's a few more that he needs to get rid of. I mean, listen, I don't know if you can get rid of Kolasinac, He just won't leave.
Well, he's a big guy.
He's a big guy. Maybe Arteta said, listen, we want to let you go. He stood up, he said, actually, we'll just keep you around. I'm not going nowhere. But listen, he's moving in the right direction, but he needs to show it for the rest of the season for me, and then he'll get the praise.
How we go. Okay, so if you're Josh Kroenke and you're having your midterm assessment, and you're saying, right, 100 games, blah blah blah, but this is what we want for you at the end of the season. If you're having that conversation with Mikel Arteta, tell the people, what would you be expecting? What is your target for him?
I would say, I want to see this style of football continue to unfold. He has got a philosophy, and I think you're starting to see it play itself out. For me, one of the biggest things, we've got to score more goals. We've only scored 13 goals in the Premier League. I think Liverpool and Chelsea have got nearly 30. And I know they're two of the best teams in the country, but even West Ham have got 20 plus goals. And we should be scoring as many as them with our firepower. So for me, you've got to find a way to get more goals out of your Aubameyangs, your Lacazettes, your Pepes, Smith Rowe, keep going, Saka. So I think we've got to score more goals. I want minimum Europa League. Minimum.
I think that's fair enough.
Top 6, I think, Europa League. But when I say Europa League, I think we should be lurking around that top 4. People will say Champions League's a bit of a step too far, but I think if United are going to keep dropping points, you got to be ready to take that place away from them. So minimum top 6, top 4 if, best case scenario. I'd like to see us win a trophy as well.
I mean, we got a good chance. I mean, you know,
quarter-final.
Carabao Cup quarter-final against Sunderland. I mean,
should be turning them over. You know, semi-final over
very
2 legs.
disappointed if we don't get through that. No disrespect to Sunderland, but it is what it is.
So listen, if we could win if we could get Europa League and a piece of silverware, I think that's a very good season. I got to be honest. Obviously, Champions League is a dream for Arsenal fans. If we get that, it'd be amazing. But if we got top 6, won a trophy, spend some money in January, spend next summer, I would consider that progress.
I think that's fair, bro. I think that's fair because listen, he's had 2 8th place finishes, even though he won the FA Cup and the Charity Shield. 2 8th place finishes.
It's not good enough.
Not good enough, really.
No.
So if he does get, you know, a top 6 finish, then that is tangible improvement. But I also think that's realistic, and the way we're playing at the moment, I'm not saying it's going to last for the whole season. I hope it does, but you know, we can't rely on that. But listen, man, I think he has the personnel there. We have the players. I've said all along. When we finished 8th those 2 times, I was disappointed because I'm looking at that squad, and I'm sure not everyone agreed with me, but we should be doing better with the personnel that we have, man. So I'm with you on that. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this all together. I'm going to ask you to grade Mikel Arteta in his 100 games. What do you give him out of 10? Be honest. Don't cap.
No, do you know
no
what?
Cap, man.
No,
you know
there's no cap, man. Only this cap. You know what I mean?
That's it.
It's a hard question because I want to be positive based on what's happening now. But you're asking.
But you can only go on the 100.
You're asking me for the 100 games.
The 100 not out. But I want you to give us your honest assessment, marks out of 10, or if you want, grade from A to F, whatever suits you.
I would give him.
And why? I'm not just going to give a number. So
okay, all right. I'm going to give him 5 out of 10. 5, yeah. I'm going to give him a 5. I know some people will be going, no, but if we're basing it off whole time.
We can't project forward at this point.
We can't project
talking
forward.
About his 100 games.
All right, if you're asking for the 100 games, I'll give him 5.
And like I said earlier, I was fair to him and I said, listen, man, the win ratio is 56. It's actually higher than Wenger's was at the same point. Yeah. However, we all know things are different for each manager.
So I'll give him a 5. I'm basing it off more what's happened previously. Obviously, he deserves credit. He won the FA Cup, Community Shield, but the 8th place finish last season, losing to Villarreal in the semi-final. We were in turmoil last season. 15th. We were losing at home to anyone. It seemed like it was such a disjointed season. That's the majority of his time at the club. The first season we finished 8th, but we give him a pass because of the FA Cup. This season, like I said, it is looking more positive, but we haven't achieved anything yet this season. That's why I won't give him a higher rating. So it's a 5, but if you achieve something this season, we're going to push that up. So basing it on the 100, that's what I would give him.
Okay, that's fair enough. So you've heard what my man said there, 5. Now, I've thought about this before, because I knew I was going to ask you, so I'd thought about it myself. I'll give him a 6.
Okay.
So it's not too dissimilar from you. I give him the 6 because he has had some difficult situations to deal with, as we've spoken about previously. And you have to factor into that he's also won a trophy. I mean, listen, better managers than Arteta haven't won trophies in years. So, you know what I mean? So I'm going to give him that. But at the same time, I have to say that the 2 8th place finishes, given the type of people we have in our squad, for me, we should have been doing better. Yeah. There's no European football this year. And even that alone, the fact that we're not having to go to these far-flung places on a Thursday night and disrupt everything, that should play out and make us a better team. So I'm hopeful for him. I hope he does well. There's no agenda. We've got no agenda here. We're not we don't want him to do bad just so we can turn around and say, we told you should have had this manager, that manager. But if we're basing it on the 100 games, my assessment would be 6 out of 10. But Curtis said 5, I've said 6. I'd love to know what you guys think. What would you give him out of 10? Do you think his managerial career at Arsenal so far has been successful? Are you optimistic for the future? Let us know what you think, bro. You know what I mean? So, Right, so we're coming to the end of the show. Thanks very much for tuning in again. Really enjoyed having you guys as company. Thanks for the award-winning social media content person. Mr. Curtis Shaw in the house. Tell the people where they can find you on social media, bro.
Curtis Shaw TV on YouTube, daily uploads, watch-alongs, all of that, people. You know where I'm at.
All of that stuff,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Good content all the time, man. Keep it going.
Yeah,
International break. Will you be watching England versus the mighty Albania and San Marino?
I mean, listen, do you know what? I might tune in because Smith Rowe's there, Saka's there, have a look at that. But
You might fancy them to get a couple of goals.
Yeah,
against
yeah.
If they play against San Marino, man, I'm sure that Smith Rowe, if he gets an opportunity, he'll be looking at that thinking...
can get a goal in. Even Ramsdale, hopefully he gets a run up maybe as well
man.
for England.
Big up Ramsdale as well, man. You know
so,
what I mean?
no, do you know what? The England game's one of them more. I have it on in the background, you know. But no, listen, they should win both games. They should get a few goals. I watch purely really for the Arsenal players. I'll be watching El Salvador against Jamaica, 2 a.m. Can Whitmore keep his job, you know?
Oh, yeah, listen, man, he's another
pressure.
one. With those players that he's got at his disposal, he should be doing better than that, bro.
He should.
But maybe that's a topic for another
Yeah,
show.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah. Okay then, so like I said, people, keep the show interactive. We want to know what you think about the subjects we discussed today. Arteta 100 games, what's your thoughts on that? But listen, thanks very much for tapping in. We truly appreciate your support. Hope you can tune in next week, because next week, man, we've got some surprises in store, our 100th show. We've got some special guests coming in, and I'm sure you're going to like what we got planned. But in the meantime, keep yourselves healthy, safe and COVID-free, and we'll catch you next week. We're out.